Okay, hey guys, this is Prisoners of Truth. Today with our first guest, Prince of Queens. I'm gonna put his information in the video description later. Okay, we talk about, first of all, Prince of Queens is gonna introduce himself and talk a little bit about his channel, what he does, his background, etc. And then we're gonna talk about whether or not they are putting in the water to turn the freaking kids non-binary. And
You shorted out for a second, and I want you to say whether or not what. Say that whole sentence, because
we are gonna try to figure out whether or not they are putting chemicals in the water that turn the freaking kids non-binary. And we're gonna talk about the sexualization of children that is going on, and the connection between left-wing politics and pedophilia and all that stuff. But first we have to get a little bit of administration stuff out of the way. It's only gonna take a minute. Looking through our channel, I made two shocking discoveries, and my browser doesn't work anymore. Hang on. Oh, okay, this doesn't work with Firefox. Shit. Yeah, I gotta change browser. Sorry. Yeah, you can start introducing yourself, Prince.
Oh, hi. Okay, so I'm Prince of Queens, and I do a channel of that name, and I do political and socio-political commentary from a non-partisan perspective, but I have a special hatred in my heart for the Democrats. I'm not a Republican. I've never voted for Republicans. To be truthful, the reason that I don't vote for Republicans at the moment is largely so I can say that, like, so I can be like, well, I'm not a Republican, but also because I don't feel like I know what I'd be signing up for well enough. Like, I spent my whole life hearing about the Democratic platform and then finally realized that they're just a bunch of lying, evil, manipulative politicians. And but I'm not willing to just jump on ship with the other guys just because. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm a gay guy. I talk about being a gay guy very openly, but it's certainly, I would say it's less than 25% of my channel is actually about the LGBT community or anything like that. Yeah, I try to be funny sometimes. Sometimes I'm not so funny. And I will talk about any old random thing. I have like something like over 600 videos. So yeah, if you're ever really bored for months, you can go to my channel.
And your latest video I really enjoyed.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was you kind of really broke down intersectionality in a really big long form way, and everybody should go watch it. It's really nice, and it is funny. That particle board clip had me dying by the end. By the 10th time I saw that clip, I was dying every time I saw it. So anyway, check it out. It's very, very well read stuff, and like I said, very in depth.
Thanks. Just to clarify, what he's referring to is it's not actually my latest video. I've made a few since then, but it's called Intersectional Feminism is Communist Particle Board. And it is an hour-long video that I spent a year researching. I decided that there had to be a concrete connection between communism and feminism, and it turned out that there's a very, very concrete, blatant one, and even the leftists themselves will try to argue this case, because there's a lot of leftists that fully admit to being communists. I thought that it was supposed to be some sort of secret, but they're like, no, feminists are communists, yay. And so it takes about an hour to explain, but I think I explained it. So
yeah, you did a great job. Sorry, go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes, all good.
Okay, great. I just changed browsers. Now it should work. Give me a minute.
Well, while we wait, I was just gonna say, there was definitely I at the very not the very end, but the last section of the particle board video, I found like I really resonated with as far as the connection between like feminist, communist, and Islam. It's like I don't know. It seems to me that when people are disingenuous, they kind of bind together, at least by their tactics, you know. Anyway, sorry, Tommy, you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Can you?
Yep.
I'm screen sharing right now.
Yep, we can see. Okay,
so first of all, there's a comment in Limbo that we got 2 months ago for some reason. Latias Dragnia, I hope I'm spelling this right, commented on our, I don't even know, it's so long ago. Notice something in common with Honduras, Puerto Rico, and pro-sanctuary supporters. They self-enrich in government and then bribe public unions to point of corruption, which has negative side effects of crippling to killing GNP. Variety of potential new jobs generated from scratch. Apparently, this is marked as spam for some reason. So yeah, I apologize for not seeing this sooner.
Well, no, that happened to me as well. I was on my account and I noticed that I had like 50 comments that I didn't even know got sent to me. So
yeah, and the second thing that I've seen, which is we are not doing our parts. Look at this shit.
Yeah, it's messing up. There we go. Yeah. Oh yeah. Subscribe to PewDiePie, everybody.
Live subscribe to PewDiePie.
We got to do our part. Do it, guys.
Okay.
All right. So let's get this rolling.
And from now on, I hope this works.
Yeah.
So, does it work?
Yeah, everybody can see. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, is there a gay agenda? That's the question. A few years ago, my mother, who is a very fundamentalist, sort of Christian, said to me that she thinks that nowadays it's cool to be gay. It's cool to not be straight anymore. And of course, back then I left it off because I didn't know anything about education system and I wasn't into politics. And nowadays I sort of agree with her. Prince, we talked about this on Friday, and you said, if I remember correctly, something to the extent of gay was in the 90s. Nowadays it's non-binary.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would say. And also last decade it was cool to be gay. The 90s it was very mainstream media, was lots of gay stuff. I think it largely had to do, this is so tragic but I think that the AIDS epidemic that was still going on in the 90s popularized gay males, because it turned them into this like charity case for liberals. Liberals got to act like, to virtue signal. They had those red ribbons, and that was a really, really big thing. They'd all wear the red ribbons, and to show how much they supported the AIDS crisis somehow. I don't know, like maybe if you donated a certain amount of money, you got a red ribbon. But then people stopped dying of AIDS all the time in the early to mid 2000s, and gay kind of went a bit more underground. The culture changed, and then by around 2014 to 2015, I think, is the peak year of fourth wave feminism, and it just got really, really bad. And the thing is, on a philosophical fundamental level, in terms of, because feminism is definitely a political movement, it definitely has its goals and its way of viewing the world. Feminists although most of them don't know it, they fucking hate gay men. They just can't stand us because we represent the biggest threat to feminism in the way that they can't control us. They can't control us sexually, and also our very existence proves that their fundamental assumption is untrue. So all of feminist theory is based around patriarchy. And the patriarchy theory is that all men collude either consciously or subconsciously to privilege all males at the expense of all women. And if you even say, hey, I'm a gay guy, that's not true, you've debunked it. And so they fucking hate us, and that is the thing. And feminism became the dominant cultural force because Obama was a big feminist, and they were trying to put Hillary Clinton into office, who would have been an even bigger feminist. And so by mid this decade, they honestly just wanted to sort of pretend like gay men either didn't exist or were just problematic. So if you actually look into like LGBT media, all you ever see about gay men is just, okay, aside from the only positive-ish things that you'll ever see about gay men is like shirtless celebrities. Like, because that always will get clicks, you know, like you'll be like, oh, look, Ryan Reynolds with his shirt off at the beach, you know, like, so people will look at that. But other than that, it's all like shaming gay men for their dating habits, like saying that gay men are all racist because they don't date enough Asian guys, or saying that gay guys are all misogynists, or saying that gay guys body shame, or just all sorts of crap like that. Or they're trying to say that that gay guys should be non-binary, basically. So
now that I think about it, I totally forgot about this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what GigTow is?
Oh, GigTow is stupid. You know what? Honestly, okay. So
it already sounds stupid.
It is stupid, and here's the reason why. I didn't coin GigTow. This other guy that I know who, you know, honestly, like I'm not even concerned with mentioning his name out loud. He coined it, and it's gays go their own way. Now, I was talking to him when he first sort of said it out loud, so I was kind of and he came up with it after following my channel for a really long time, but he sort of like took things a step further than I was willing to go. He said that the G should separate from the LGBT, which I am on board with to a certain degree, because I think that gay men should have our own autonomy. Because the LGBT is controlled by, not even necessarily by lesbians, by it's largely just straight girls. Like straight women, the women order us around, and it's long story of, I have all sorts of videos about that and like the way that they do it. But so I was willing to say like, hey, yeah, it would be worthwhile for gay men to get their own autonomy as gay men, as the gay male community. But the thing is about the guys who actually use the GigTow label is it seems that they are actually like gay MGTOWs. So like somehow they like, I like the point is that they don't even want they don't even like the gay male community. Like they're guys that feel like they like didn't fit into the gay male community either. So they're like, well, we're just going to be independent. And it's like, well, that's fucking dumb, because you can fuck each other. Like, why not have a community? Like, you know, like, so that's why I don't actually, like, I never called myself a GigTow. And I was under the impression that it was a community for gay men that was free of the feminist influence. But no, apparently it's just gay MGTOWs, and that's dumb to me, right? So I would say, if anything, if you want to give me a label for my version of gay male, I would be a gaytriarch. I'm just
oh yeah, you have a stream called the Gaytriarchy.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, that's actually, it was an insult that feminists would use to insult gay men, saying like, oh yeah, they can be just like straight men. And it's like, well, in our spaces, bitch, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm a gaytriarch. You don't have any You know, like if you walk into a bar and it's 90% gay men, fuck yeah, it's not about your fucking feelings. So fuck off. I am fully willing to own this gaytriarch thing. Though I mean, I wouldn't start ordering straight people around in straight bars. So you know,
it's funny to me the whole the entire concept that anybody would use gaytriarch as an insult kind of just shows that like the entire concept of having a community that is inclusive on as far as not being straight is lost. You've lost it in intersectionality. I mean, you've already turned against your own people who you are supposedly standing up for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's very okay. Sorry, clarify what you mean a little bit.
Oh, I just mean like I don't understand how anybody thinks that using that as an insult is like it betrays that they hate men, essentially. To say like, oh, you're in a gaytriarchy. Oh, the gay men have too much influence over this community. It just it betrays that they're not about inclusivity. They're just they say they are, but they're not.
Yeah, it shows that they're only about ordering people around.
Yeah, authoritarianism at its very core, absolutely.
Yeah, agreed, very much agreed. Yeah, it's amazing. And the really sad thing is how few gay men are like willing to call a spade and stand up for themselves. Like they're terrified of the feminists.
Yeah, but that's changing, isn't it, lately?
I like to think so. I mean, you know, honestly, I need to start going out to gay bars again because I think that there was this sort of period for the first 2 years after Trump's election, most gay guys, the thing is, most gay guys don't really know anything about politics. They don't pay attention to politics. They just watch RuPaul's Drag Race and stupid shit like that. I promise you guys, you would be so surprised by how many gay men legitimately lived in the alternate reality where Trump was going to be impeached any day now. And like they would have a new president and somehow I don't know, it would be like Nancy Pelosi or something. And they were like happy about that. And I said,
if Trump would be impeached, the president would be Mike Pence.
Yeah, well,
because Mike Pence is totally pro LGBT.
No, in their twisted heads, they found a way for it to be like Nancy Pelosi, and they would have articles about it. And I know over 1,000 gay guys on my Facebook, and like 85% of them are just clueless, SJW-ish guys that I can't stand at this point. And they sort of kind of thought that, and they also were under the impression that when the midterms come, the Democrats are going to sweep both the House and the Senate, and that's how they're going to take back Washington. And when that didn't happen, I think it kind of took the wind out of a lot of their sails in terms of the delusion. So I could start to like mix with the gay male community a little bit more, sort of like put my foot back in the door and see how things are, because I've if you can get a gay guy one-on-one and talk to him and be like, hey, do you like the fact that you haven't ever looked at a gay blog in the last 6 years and seen anything besides shaming you for your dating preferences? Like, do you actually like that? Does that make you happy? And they're all going to say, no, of course not. So, I think that the problem is that they don't understand that it's coming from feminism. And it's just because, like most people, they don't know what feminism actually even is.
The way you describe this right now is basically as if the gay man is the cis white heteronormative male of the LGBT community.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, Tommy, real quick, you're still on screen share, just so you know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a book I found. By the way, there's another channel, Embarrassing Mom, it's called. And she's about 40, and Prince, you probably couldn't talk a lot with her because she's one of the victims of intersectional feminist indoctrination. She did a few walkaway videos. She also talks about intersectional feminism and how she got indoctrinated in college and now has a lot of debt because she has a degree that is completely pointless. And in one of her videos, she showed this book here, Feminist Baby. This is
she the skinny blonde lady?
Yeah, I believe so.
she's about 40. I wouldn't say skinny.
Okay.
Yeah, she's skinny by American
Yeah,
standards.
I'm sure. I think we've probably all seen her.
Wait, what's her
videos.
name again? I want to look it up.
Embarrassing Mom.
Embarrassing Mom. No, she's not who I was thinking of, but okay.
Yeah.
I'll take a look.
She did a stream yesterday, a 2-hour stream where she and the other female she was stream with mentioned Riley Dennis real quick about the if you don't date trans people, you're a sexist, and how this is a stupid argument, and why you wouldn't say this to a gay guy or to a lesbian, for example, if you don't,
Except for they do say it to us.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to this.
One of the things I like to tell heterosexual people is that there's this kind of assumption that this crap doesn't get leveled at gay men and lesbians, but I think that that's actually probably the reverse of what's true. If you talk to any lesbian that's sane, she'll have all sorts of horror stories about feminists. Like I've talked to numerous lesbians that, like, I have 2 friends that are lesbians that have had restraining orders that were entirely false, put on them by ex-girlfriends who were bitter and just decided to make up some domestic abuse charge. And then they can't like go to bars that they used to go to. Like one of them had to drop out of college because they both went to school together. And so like, yeah, like some of the biggest victims of like feminist madness are lesbians. That's one of the big surprises.
Yeah, I think you have a video called like the lesbian something cycle or circle or something.
Oh, the lesbian shame circle?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think this video is about that, if I remember correctly.
Oh, well, no, that one, I do have a video that's called Lesbian Does Not Equal Feminist.
I mean the other one.
Yeah, but the lesbian shame circle is about a pattern of behavior from lesbians that it's just when lesbians trap you alone and decide to shame you a bunch.
Right.
It's a thing. And there was a lesbian author in the 1990s that coined it, and she called it the lesbian shame circle. And she hated that type of lesbian, and so.
This here is I'm still on screen share, right? This is a document from the German government. About sex ed. This is what the German government thinks that you should teach in sex ed, which is in this one state that has elections upcoming this year. Look at this language. LGBTIQ6 children and adolescents. I have no idea what the 6 stands for. I googled it. I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, I've actually this is the first time. This is the first I've ever seen of the 6 myself.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if you know what it is.
No, I don't know.
Man, it looks like they're up on some stuff in Germany that we don't know about.
Yeah. This is called asterisk, right? This thing.
Yes, correct.
Trans asterisk dash humans. Inter asterisk dash person. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Okay, while Googling this, I found, and I didn't even know, look at this shit. I didn't even know that this is so crazy. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, ally, pansexual. So now it's not even really related to sex stuff anymore. Questioning an ally. It's basically, why don't they just call it non-cis hetero? That would be
and it's almost it's almost offensive that they even put gay. It's like gay and ally in the same. It's like what war are we fighting? You know, like, why do you assume that I'm enlisted just because I'm homosexual? Like, I actively reject that at this point.
It's the whole community thing is weird in itself, I find, because, for example, these things, lesbian and gay, okay, I understand why these are together. I sort of understand why bi is together, but the T in itself is I remember, wasn't there in the 80s or 70s when this LGBT nomenclature came up, wasn't there a resistance at first to not include the transsexual, transgender in the LGBT in the letters?
I'm not entirely sure. I do know that it was originally GLBT because there's dramatically more gay men than certainly than lesbians, but I don't entirely know much else about it.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, go ahead. I wasn't saying anything.
I'm gonna mute myself for a second, just so you guys know.
Go ahead. Yeah. I hope you're still listening. I'll repeat myself if you're not. But I was just gonna ask, kind of what you thought if there is a gay agenda today, what it looked like, and then I was also gonna say briefly, you know, the way that I kind of see the question of a gay agenda is like it's something that used to be very real and used to have actual real civic goals, because you know, gay people couldn't get married, and it wasn't normalized to a point where there was still a lot of abuse, and there still is a lot of abuse in some places. That's not exactly what I'm saying, but I feel like the political edge of the quote unquote gay movement has moved away from gay and into it's become the trans movement. It's become the transsexual movement. And what I see it becoming more and more about is about kids. I see it becoming the pedophile movement. And you just kind of look at the way that the goals of the quote unquote political gay movement have changed over the last 40 years. And it's drastic. As if to say, you know, I don't even think that there's a quote unquote gay movement anymore. The political drive seems to have completely moved away from the gay community itself.
Yeah, this goes to the motives, which I wanted to talk about at the end, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I think that there's a lot of contrasting versions of what you could label as the gay agenda. So, for example, there is the legitimate civil rights issues that gay and lesbian people were fighting for, or gay men in particular. Like the gay marriage thing became a big one because it was easy to rally people under that. But you know, like sodomy laws were around for a very long time until they were deemed unconstitutional. And that was a big thing, you know, like but then there's also this there's this weird political thing that I think is sort of what you're talking about, like where it does seem like there's the people okay, so ever since probably the 1980s, there were people thinking that I guess they were thinking that the left was trying to do this, indoctrinate children into homosexuality, or maybe even in the 50s. Maybe in the 50s there was propaganda type stuff about converting children into, because I've looked at it actually, like I've seen videos, and it was there was definite inaccuracies in it. Like it was kind of like, you know, older pedophile guy tries to turn the kid gay, as if that just sort of like happens, you know, whereas what it actually is a bit more like is this, like, when you notice when you're 11 or so you get a boner when you're looking at an underwear box, you know, that's like kind of what it is. But people were sort of thinking that it was this organized thing, and that it was trying to feminize males, and I don't know, like I don't entirely, like I should do some homework and look at what some of these people who were really big on pushing that in the 1980s, what they were actually saying, because it was probably having something to the effect of that the gay agenda was trying to feminize males so that it would break up the family structure, and then families would become more dependent upon the state. And so there's a bit of overlap in terms of like the actual feminist agenda. But I am not entirely sure. Like, I know that I would say that there is a feminist agenda. Like there definitely is people out there trying to feminize males. That's for fucking sure. But I wouldn't really say it's so much the gay guys themselves. But yeah, there's that. And then now it does seem to be that it's morphed into transgenderism, and that the whole trans thing, it's not natural, you know, like with gay guys. The gay guys have been around since forever, and people say that trans people have too, and like maybe to a certain degree they have, but not in the way that it is now. It's just like most of the trans people are just gay guys who you know, people that did get kind of influence. Like this whole Transtrender phenomenon it's very, very clear, and that did come from media. I've actually talked to a person who was trans who detransitioned, and they said that it was largely just suggestion. Like they were at a low point in their life, and it was easy for them to think that maybe it was because they were trans and transitioning would help them. And then it turned out to be the reverse of what was true, and they had to detransition. And so, yeah, it gets very confusing though, because it's hard to know what are the organic forces, like what are the forces of just culture and, you know, homosexual men or lesbians or whatever. I mean, there's very little lesbian culture. There's very few lesbians in the world. It turns out, but it's hard to know like what's the organic culture and why that's coming, and then as opposed to the people who are being influenced by culture and where to draw the line and where's the difference. But you know, when you have people like Riley Dennis, who is very obviously a heterosexual man who has issues with men, and so he decided to start calling himself trans because he had long hair, and he had a YouTube channel, and he went on for like a year, and everybody made fun of him, and he would never watch the criticism videos because it, I guess, would have been too upsetting. And then finally he realized that nobody believes he's actually trans, and so then he went on hormones. And I think that happens with a lot of people. Like I think that's what happened with ContraPoints. I don't think ContraPoints I might get kicked off of Patreon, but I don't think ContraPoints is trans. I think that ContraPoints got peer pressured by their audience after dressing up as a woman and realizing that that was a great way of actually getting views. Like all sorts of people on the left are like, "Oh, cool, a trans person, awesome," and they're like, "Well, I'm not actually trans, but I could be." And that's what we're sort of dealing with now, and being a gay male is shamed. And so I think a lot of gay guys are becoming trans because it's more socially acceptable, which is a messed up state of affairs, in my opinion.
That's really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, these two paragraphs here basically deal with you can see real boys and real girls. It's about, yeah, you should question your you should question why you basically your masculinity if you're a boy and your femininity if you're a girl. This is basically the destruction of genders. And there's some racism in there, because of course there is. And what you just said, it's right. The next one, there is a study done, rapid onset gender dysphoria in adolescents and young adults, a study of parental reports. It's about half a year old, done by Lisa Littman from the Brown University. And what they did is they went on internet forums, is that the plural, where parents talk about their kids and their rapid onset gender dysphoria. Rapid onset gender dysphoria means nothing else but kids that read about trannies and then from one day to the next decide that they have gender dysphoria now. And the result
that's so
is
fucked up. I said that's so fucked up.
Yeah, and the result is shocking. Yeah, they went on these forums and they asked, they put out this questionnaire with 90 questions. And what I found out was that, first of all, this what surprised me. 80%. It's only 256 parents, so it's not representative by any means. The sample size is too small, but it gives you an insight on what's going on. And first of all, 80% were born female, which surprised me. I always thought that there were way more male to female.
Oh no, okay. Yeah, no, the transtrenders that are females is so common. And the funny thing is that, like, I think it's because it's so much more socially acceptable for a female to well, because females get picked on less in general. Like females can just sort of do whatever they want and nobody really cares. Whereas with men, it's like you get bullied and picked on, and and not just by other males, but by females. Like females will just make fun of you for looking weird. So females can take liberties with their appearance, and so they can decide that they're trans and then change their mind after a year, and nobody really bats an eyelash. But it's with a guy, it's like, if you even start seeming more girly, people will really notice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely more socially acceptable to dress, if you're a female, to dress like a man, like as opposed to the opposite. 62% of these kids were diagnosed with either mental health issue or neurodevelopmental disability. And this is also fascinating. The between 0 and 7 different diagnoses, 7 different diagnoses in one person for this stuff is it shows you who this rapid onset gender dysphoria stuff applies to. 36% of the friendship group described the majority of the members became transgender identified. If the majority of people become transgender identified, then you know that there's something wrong. This is not a natural organic evolution. This is made.
Suggestion. It's like some pointed suggestion.
This is also expressing distrust of non-transgender people, almost 1/4 or 1/4. Stopping spending time with non-transgender friends, 25%, trying to isolate themselves from the family, 50%, and only trusting information about gender dysphoria from transgender sources, almost 50%. This sounds like a cult almost.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing that is messed up is that there is a very big distinction between transgender and non-binary, and as messed up as this sounds, I would say that the transgender stuff is actually slightly less dangerous than the non-binary stuff. And the reason I say that is because the non-binary people are convinced that they are neither male nor female, and a bunch of them actually want to take hormones and get surgeries for that, for whatever fucking reason. Like they want to be some sort of, genderless alien that doesn't have genitals or something. And
so they are otherkin.
And then they demand gender neutral pronouns. Now, of course, this is completely delusional. To think that anyone actually sees you as somebody with no gender is like, if you actually believe that's a reasonable in any way of existing, you are already fully gone. Like you are already fully brainwashed. Like if you're transgender, like I can see how you can be convinced into thinking that you want to be the other one, and then maybe you try it out, grass is greener, and then you might go back and it's screwed up and everything. But like if you think that you can just have no gender at all and that people are supposed to call you they all the time, and that's like a reasonable thing, that you might as well be asking people to believe, that the world is flat. Like you might as well be a flat earther at that point. And that just means that you, like, they recently are starting to introduce a third option on census in places like Canada and I think New York. And I think that it's almost probably a way for the intersectionals to know how many completely brainwashed troops they have. Like if you click other, it's like that means that you are not independent minded at all. Like you have been completely indoctrinated, and it's like they're calculating how many completely indoctrinated people they have.
Yeah, Germany has officially 3 genders now.
That's not a bad take on it. I've never thought about it like that.
I don't really have too much problem with a third. Yes, I realized that there are only 2 genders, but there, as I said on Friday, there are intersex is a real thing. There are you can have weird genital makeup. You can have a different chromosomal abnormalities. These are all things that really exist, so I don't really have a problem with this. But that point, this is something that you can actually check for. This is not something that is in your head. This is
Well, no, I've known intersex people because I lived in San Francisco for 7 years, and so everybody who's like transgender or has an actual intersex type and
chromosomal thing,
they like most of them end up living in San Francisco because it's like the one place that you can be, people are open-minded to that kind of thing. And I've known a number of them, but the people who are going to be checking those boxes, it's going to be 90, because being intersex is really, really rare.
Very rare.
Yeah.
It's mostly going to be these fucking, like what we would have called Tumblerinas or whatever, like these fucking girls that sort of got a short haircut that decide that they have no gender except for they're obviously a female.
Right.
Yeah, when the study from Brown University came out, they basically immediately had to backpedal because they were called suddenly identifying as transgender could be influenced by the peer group was also called transphobic. If you think that 50% of your circle of people that you know can't be transgender, you're transphobic.
Jesus.
Wait, if you say it again.
Yeah, they think that if you think that there can't be 50% of the population who seriously have gender dysphoria, then you are transphobic. If you think that transgenderism is a thing, then you are transphobic by default.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The whole phobia thing, the use of the word is like out of control. Like it's basically been hijacked to mean like I don't like you and I think you're a big meanie. Because at what point is any of this an actual phobic? Phobia is a medical thing. Like when you have a real undescribed fear of something.
Yeah,
they should definitely have a new word that means anti-gay or anti-trans. I agree. Like
and the Islamophobia thing too. It's like I don't know. This is I don't understand the use of the word phobia as like some sort of way to shut people down.
Yeah. Karl Kulinski from Secular Talk used to say that. I don't watch him for years now, but he used to say that Islamophobia is not a thing, but there is such a thing as anti-Muslim bigotry, which this makes sense from a term standpoint. There is such a thing as anti-gay bigotry.
Yeah, but it's not a phobia. Even when it's bigotry, it's not even a phobia. It's like
exactly.
They just don't like
phobia.
Them.
The term phobia is just wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong, and it's also like a buzzword. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they use it. It's a buzzword. First of all, I have arachnophobia. I'm scared. I'm really, really, really scared of spiders.
Well, isn't that going in the file?
Isn't that?
I would say like it's like like a racist white guy from the South. Maybe he's scared of black people, but he's not scared of Asian people. He just doesn't like them. Although I don't know if there's like actual phobia word for racist. I think they just call it racism. So, but that's
bigotry,
the difference. Yeah, like so.
Well, I mean, isn't that the point of these buzzwords? I mean, the far left, they love these buzzwords, and you know, these negative words are going to resonate with something in your brain, and you're going to feel negative feeling, negative emotion. And it's all this sort of a manipulation of people's brain chemistry, pretty much.
Yeah, it's the magic spell.
Yeah, that's a good that's a good way of putting it. But yeah, it's pretty messed up though that the most anti-gay sentiments that I ever experience are from the left these days, hands down. Like the right has basically come around and is kind of like, wait, you're a gay guy that's like willing to be reasonable and be open to my political point of views. Awesome, cool. And then feminists are like, you think vaginas are disgusting, and Antifas are all like, the Antifas are like, oh, you must be like Milo Yiannopoulos. I bet you want to suck Milo Yiannopoulos' dick. I'm gonna punch you, you fucking fascist nigga. Like they just freak out. And
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, I said like months ago, 2 years from now, you have all the minorities voting Republican and being on the political right, and on the left you have these white rich soy boy liberals with their black masks calling everyone nigger.
It's true, though. True. It's true. I saw a video.
The reverse KKK.
Yeah, exactly. It's 50 years ago they
colored.
Yeah, exactly. 50 years ago they had white robes. Now they have black robes. Everyone else is basically the same.
I mean, I forget. Somebody was mentioning this in a video today that they were making a joke that intersectionality is basically left-wing white supremacy in a way. Not really. I mean, it's not pro-white, but it's such an antithesis to like pro-white racism that it descends into a different type of racism. It's just as racist. It's just as abhorrent and disgusting.
It's
in my mind.
completely racist. I have a whole video about how the left is racist that I did fairly recently. That I mean and I used I referenced that same book that I used in my particle board, intersectional feminism is communist particle board video, the book called Red Feminism, because that one had a lot of information about the United States Communist Party prior to the Cold War. And the thing is that the United States Communist Party for since the 1930s or so had a lot of black members and was reaching out to the black community. And that legacy of black communists never really went away. Obviously, there was like the Black Panthers, and now there's like Uhuru, which is Ghazi Kotso's thing, and
BLM.
Like, yeah, it's all black communists is what it actually is. If you
Nation of Islam.
Well, that's a bit different, but they're all friends.
Yeah, all the black nationalists. Basically, they all seem to hate Jews too. Louis Farrakhan certainly doesn't like them.
Oh yeah. Well, Jews are they consider Jews privileged or something.
Guys,
I mean, the Islam. But no, the thing is that because of this long obsession with black identity politics that has been a major staple of the communists in the United States, it's sort of made it into this dichotomy where the communists see the United States and the whole world in terms of there's two races, there's black and non-black, and white people are the worst, but like, hey, if you're not at least part black, then you're not as good. And that's how they see things. And it's because of this legacy of like black people being the most oppressed. And it just comes from about 100-year history of prioritizing black people as the most oppressed in the United States.
Hang on a second. I gotta get my cat.
Cat wrangler. We got a cat wrangler here. I feel your pain. That's why I keep mine like 30 pounds overweight. He can barely even walk. He just rolls around.
But hey, guys, you shouldn't be questioning Louis Farrakhan and his hatred of Jews. He's black. He's very oppressed, so he gets to say whatever he wants. You better not question it. Just ignore it, in fact.
Yeah, don't bring it up. What did he say? He said he's not. I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm an anti-termite.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So you guys, you had wanted me to talk about the gay agenda, and I actually forgot the one thing that I had in mind to bring up on this stream was, do you guys remember how there was that drag queen that would read storybooks to kids?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Well,
Alex Jones freaking out about him?
I know that person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I was friends with that person on Facebook, but not anymore. Like seriously, about close to 50% of my Facebook friends have unfriended or blocked me at this point, just because like I just will not take their shit at all. And I deliberately get into political debates on their timeline, just because I want to know what they think, and they never cease to amaze me by how stupid they are. But that person, yeah, they went to Berkeley for grad school, and their drag name is Little Miss Hot Mess. Their real name is Harris something, and they used to do at this drag night called Something. They used to do a once a month thing called Try Something, where amateur drag queens, like people who've never done drag, got to do a little number on stage. And I actually did that one time.
Nice.
And they were actually a pretty nice person. If there was any nefarious motive in reading stories to kids, I have no idea what it was, and I'd actually be kind of surprised. I think that person, I mean, whoever put them up to doing it might have some nefarious motive, but I think that person was probably pretty unaware of anything like that.
Well, I think it's important to like, it's funny, like the stupid little hashtag not all from way back when has always kind of stuck with me, because I don't know, it's important to have nuance when we're talking about like gay agenda and gays and trans as leftists and potentially harmful to children. I don't know. It's important because, like you just explained, there are people within these communities that are, for whatever good or bad, are not involved with anything nefarious, are just being themselves. And you know, I think it's important to keep that in mind with the criticism, just to keep a balanced view. And you're right, because there's people within this community that may be involved with attempting to groom and harm children who are not necessarily involved with that. And I don't know, it's you can't demonize somebody just because they put a dress on. You know what I mean?
And well, and also when it comes to like the censorship debate and like questioning like who's is there somebody influencing people to become gay, this and that, like yeah, I don't really think about it too intensely in those terms. You know, I don't think that it's a thing where people that are gay are necessarily involved in all of this. What I'm concerned with is what social scientists that create, you know, education policies, like that's what I'm concerned about. What are their motives? Are these individuals doing something from the top down to try to confuse people and get them into these whitewashed, you know, identities so that they can sort of influence people easier? I don't know.
No, I completely agree. And I think that the scarier thing is that, you know, like I knew this person, they went to Berkeley College, and that they could go into that and potentially be being put in some weird program that was engineered by some other person for some nefarious reason, and they would be enacting that person's vision without even knowing it. That's a little bit scarier.
Exactly.
The guy I have on screen right now, Prince, have you heard of John Money or Monet?
Is it M-O-N-E-Y? Yeah, I don't know.
Psychologist, sexologist, and author specializing in research into sexual identity and biology of gender. As far as I know, that is basically the guy who came up with the idea that gender is a social construct. And that guy basically would have, he and Dr. Mengele would have been good friends, basically.
Jesus.
Well, there's a current living person that is the I guess the laureate. I don't remember the exact term, but the living saint of this type of gender deconstructionism. Her name is Judith Butler. And she is a tenured professor at Berkeley, and she wrote a book called Gender Troubles, and she's a postmodern feminist who believes that gender is all a performance, and that I guess that we're all born fundamentally blank slates, and that you decide to be what you are based on blah 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 blah. You know, like that kind of crap.
Yeah, what that guy did, John Money, for example, he is very famous in quotes for what he did to a guy called David Raymer. Have you heard about the case of David Raymer?
No, I have not heard about that.
Okay, this is was a boy who was circumcised at birth, and they botched his circumcision, and they basically destroyed his dick. And he talked his parents into turning this boy into a girl. He gender reassignment surgery on a fucking infant, and they because gender is a social construct. Yeah, and they from this point forth raised him as a girl, and of course he went completely nuts because he was not a girl, and gender is not a social construct, and he did not have gender dysphoria, and it basically he found that out, I think, when he was 10 or 12 or something. Had his a gender reassignment surgery, reverse surgery, basically later in life. He ended up killing himself. Years later, his brother ended up killing himself, and this guy he for a long time just refused to accept that this didn't work. He pretended that this was a great success.
The doctor?
Oh, God.
Yeah, the doctor.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And later just refused talking about at all, because he argued, listen to this, that media response to the expose was due to right-wing media bias and
Oh my God.
the anti-feminist movement.
So it was his Obamacare, basically.
Basically.
The Affordable Care Act. Thanks, Obama.
And even intersex people were against this guy and said this guy's fucking nuts, and apparently because of his research, thousands of kids underwent this bullshit.
Wow.
There's which just goes to show where this is all coming together. There's a quote from him. Listen to this quote. If I were to see the case of a boy aged 10 or 11 who's intensely erotically attracted toward a man in his 20s or 30s, if the relationship is totally mutual and the bonding is genuinely totally mutual, then I would not call it pathological in any way. Weirdly, this fucking guy was pro fucking kids. Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought?
Wow.
There's a movie, I think, that it sounds remarkably similar to this. It's called Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know that.
Yeah, it's an indie movie from last decade. It's kind of like a gay cult classic.
Interesting. I don't know. Maybe that film was influenced by that story or something.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna Google it. What was Hedwig based on? Hedwig. The origin of maybe. Okay. Maybe I would have to look this up some other time.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because I might be searching for a while.
But maybe we're giving you some research
yeah,
inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the video that I showed you about the evolve the definition. They are literally trying to change the definition of masculinity to basically being a little bitch. Masculine now. Yeah, you don't have sound if I play this, right?
No, yeah, it won't. No.
You can look up the video. It has 10 million views. It has surprisingly only 1/3 dislikes, but the comment section is pretty obvious what people think about it.
Right.
Yeah, it's what he left us changing.
But
we
yeah,
talked about changing definitions, changing words, changing meanings.
So yeah, and if I recall the video correctly, basically it was redefining masculinity, and there was a bend where there were very strongly influencing men to embrace femininity and to use they're basically just redefining it. And it was just kind of weird because it was just sort of like they're telling you what to do, but in a really weaselly way.
Yeah, and this is a marketing video from I think clothing store something.
Probably.
And of course every argument against the criticism is a straw man. Is you're just afraid of like I don't know, embracing who you really are. Just like with the kid drag queens, the argument is always you're just afraid of a gay kid. No, I'm not. I'm afraid of parents turning their kids into fucking psychopaths. There's a video about I'm gonna put all this stuff in the description about genderfluid parents who raise their kids gender neutral, like to dislike ratio like 1 to 6 dislikes. This stuff is all, and this is pushed by on TV shows and not TV shows on like morning television and stuff.
Right.
This is probably the one with the highest like to dislike ratio. Otherwise, raising Theybies, gender neutral babies. 200 likes, 6,000 dislikes on NBC News. This is.
What kills me most is this is supposedly the party of like science, and they're like, yeah, we're the party of science, but babies don't have chromosomes. It's like, wait, what?
Evolution.
What?
Evolution is not a thing anymore. The
oh my
left,
god, that's so messed up.
That kid?
Yeah, it's hard to look at that.
With his legs all spread and shit.
Dude, yeah.
What
That's very hard to look at.
Yeah, if you think this is sexual, then the problem is you.
It's just but like
this is what they really say, by the way.
It's as okay, like, and see, this is another thing I was thinking I wanted to bring up. And this is one of the reasons I should go back to gay bars and like try to actually, talk to people, because I'm like actually out of touch because I haven't been really mixing with the gay community for about 3 years. But I do not see this type of thing being embraced a whole bunch in my social reality. Like, it's mostly conservatives that I see talking about this crap. Now, granted, remember that that old fat like Stephanie, like it was like
that like old fat man who's like, I'm a 6-year-old girl now, basically. And he did it with the help of some couple that he was in like a polyamorous relationship with the two of them. Like there was some threesome, and he would hang out with their kid, and it's like so. I knew this was a transtrender. This was actually one of the most vile people I've ever known in my life. This person was just so. Do you know him?
No, I didn't know Stephanie. Jesus fucking Christ. No, but I did know somebody who unironically shared that video and was all like, "Yes," like as if.
Oh my god! Like, yes, Queen Slay.
yeah. But the funny thing was that the person who shared it is like the most obvious transtrender of all time. Like one of these transtrenders that like will have a mustache and like thinks that's edgy, like, has a mustache and like wears like a mini skirt and some like jelly, like, penny loafer type things, and then fucking like some Claire's accessories from the mall, and
Yikes.
Yeah, oh god, they're so fucking pathetic. That person was so awful. So like I would say that most of the trans people I knew were probably completely embarrassed by that Stephanie person, and then it was just like the completely clueless transtrender that was like trying to act like it was cool. But I still, even that person, even just knowing one person that actually thought that Stephanie was empowering really surprised me. So I don't know. Like I occasionally run into, not even occasionally, like not uncommonly, I run into gay guys that refer to Maxine Waters as auntie, and they
Oh,
think that
I've heard that. Oh yeah.
They think that she's a badass and that she's really, she's a great representative of the Democratic Party because she's a strong black woman that don't take no shit. And it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, you guys are so out of touch with reality. So, I mean, there are guys like that, and that maybe there are people that are into this, like that are looking at this kid being like, awesome, I wish I had accepting parents like that when I was his age. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I just see it as opening your child up to abuse. I mean,
I see it as that too, and it's like if you have a child, say if you have a child and he likes dressing up as a girl, like, okay, like that's what he likes, like that's what he does. I don't have a problem with that, but it's like when in school they're putting this stuff into kids' heads when they're telling 5-year-olds that they have agency over their gender or their sexuality, while their brains aren't even near developed. It's just, to me, that is abusive. That's going to disrupt anybody's development. And so, that's what we really need to push for, is like, stop trying to influence kids into this. If your kid wears a dress, don't turn their world upside down and tell them they're the wrong gender. Like,
absolutely. That's the bigger concern for me. The pedophilia stuff. I mean, yeah, I suppose it's a big issue, but the thing that you got to remember about the gay community is that for the most part, gay guys are into men. Like the pedophile community is like very much shunned from the actual gay community, and gay guys are into guys their age or often older. What's a surprising thing is that if you talk to most guys below the age of 25, they're like largely like looking for guys that are in their mid 30s or so, and they call them daddies, and because there's a lot of hot guys that are gay in their mid 30s or so. And when I was in my 20s, I was like always dating guys that were like 10 years older than me largely, and a lot of my friends were too, like most of them I would say. And lots of guys into like hairy dudes and muscular guys. And so this fear of pedophilia, that's something that for the most part within the gay community, gay guys don't even think about all that much. And one of the things I would say is that gay guys, supposedly statistically heterosexual pedophilia happens a lot more, or at least underage sex. And I think that that's probably true. And if for no other reason, it's probably true just because gay guys are terrified of, how much trouble they'd get into if they had sex with like, a 15-year-old boy. Like, sure, everybody has seen a 15-year-old who's been through puberty, male or female, that is fully developed, that they notice that they're sexy. You're like, oh, and then you're like, wait, that person's like fucking 15. I should not have looked at that, and well, with gay guys, that fear that you get and looking at an underage person, it's like tenfold, because all sorts of people think that gay guys are pedophiles. And so like, man, if I realize that I'm looking at somebody that might be underage, I just get, instantly turned off. And that attitude is pretty present in the gay community. But there is this embracing of kids, like wanting the kids to be their actual self and to be, like liberated from the confines of heteronormativity and blah, blah. Like that is there. And that's weird to me. Like, I think that screws with kids' heads.
Well, and I think pedophilia is less of a problem associated, I think, with gay men, and more, to me at least, is associated with any sort of power structure, Hollywood, religious, political. I mean, anytime there's powerful people, you'll find the pedophiles. And so I think that in large part because of the gay community has been so closely entwined with Hollywood and sort of California and that whole structure, that I think that's where a lot of people are getting the misconception. They kind of look at the gay community and then they look at the Hollywood community and they associate the two, when in reality the real exploitation of children is coming from the movie industry and rather than necessarily the gay community.
Well, there's that. And the other thing. Oh, go ahead.
Just ancient Rome is a factor, and also the factor that being homosexual used to be taboo, and so kids, you know, you couldn't be openly gay in high school, so you'd have to go to like the park or something to try to have sex. Whereas now you can come out in high school and potentially date. So
I've said it on Friday and I say it again. The slippery slope argument that far right wingers and especially evangelicals, etc., make with the, if we allow gay marriage, the next thing that is going to come is like marrying animals, marrying kids, etc. This is a fallacy. There is no slippery slope. There is an intersection between. There is a reason why gay people and pedophiles both like left-wing parties, and I get to the end, and it's not that gays and pedophiles in itself have something to do with each other. This is false. Yeah, I was thinking about during when I did research for the video for the stream, if I would have a kid. I mean, I can't really say that this isn't really all the kid himself. I don't know him. I don't know his family, and I can't say that this is really his parents making him do something that he doesn't want to. But even if he does want this, even if this is really all him, why the fuck do you allow him to do this? This is on the internet forever.
Well,
this is never gonna go away. And this is something that the Blonde and Matt brought up. This kid is never gonna have a normal life because everything he ever does will always come back to this weird shit he did in his when he was a child, and his parents just let him do this. I have no idea how I would handle a kid like this, but I wouldn't let him go on fucking nightclubs on stage and drag.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Or let him basically make a brothel for teenagers, as far as I can tell. Yeah.
Well, anyway, the thing I was gonna say is, yeah, I mean, it's a bit it's narcissistic of the parents to do that, because when you're a kid, you want approval, you seek approval of your parents and those around you, and so if people are applauding you because you fit into this mold that's idealized nowadays, yeah, you're gonna go straight for it. And then in regards to, I guess when we're talking about predators, and kids being in danger, when I look at the whole intersectionality trend going on.
Hold on, don't leave that page just because I want to say something about it when he's done.
Okay, yeah, but with the whole intersectionality thing, I'm kind of lost my train of thought there.
Predators, intersectionality.
Oh yeah. What it is? Okay, so with intersectionality, I think that there are individuals that are sick, that are predators, that are trying to try to exploit the intersectionality thing so that they can get a thing, so that they can kind of get a foot in there. So I don't really see a tie between predators and like the gay community. These are two separate things. The predators are just trying, in my mind, to exploit this whole thing so that they can kind of get a foothold in.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's funny, like the during the AIDS crisis, the gay men were into having a greater community because they were at a low point. They needed help. They needed the charity of others to survive. But gay men have never done well in communist regimes. And I think the reason why is because gay men are inherently independent. Like they're like, I don't have to worry about kids. I only have to worry about myself. Fuck off. And so like if the economy is crashing due to some weird, ridiculous revolution, gay men are going to be the first people to naturally resist. And then they end up putting them in the gulag or in whatever the concentration camp was called in Cuba. And that's historically happened over and over. So it's actually kind of funny. Like gay men are usually the first people to check out. And I think that that's sort of happening. Now,
you wanted to comment on a video?
What's that?
Did you say you wanted to comment on that video real quick?
I wanted to comment on the kid with the mom that has the tattoos and the piercings.
What was that? Oh, you mean that kid that looks super happy?
Because
This one.
Yeah. Okay. So, because I saw that there was like a 5-7 minute special video. I think it was in L about this. And look at the mom. Scroll up. And look at that guy. That guy is not her boyfriend. That's a gay guy. And the thing is, that woman, I know exactly that type of woman. She is the type of woman that only has gay friends. And the thing is that little kid has simply basically never been around straight guys. He has no concept of what heterosexual men are like because she lives in some urban mecca and she's a hairdresser. I'm pretty sure she's a hairdresser or a makeup artist. And so all of her friends are fucking gay guys. And so this little kid, his masculine role models are gay guys. And that's why he ended up like that.
Yeah, that's why Jordan Peterson says he is a fan of the nuclear family.
Balance is super important, especially for kids, especially when you're super impressionable and looking for all of your information and cues to come from strong people who care about you. You know,
this isn't so difficult. It's like when kids are raised, stick with the biological basics, and once they become of age, they can decide like how they want to present themselves, what they want to be. You know, I already did say that, but I mean, obviously it's simple, but I don't think. Everybody knows it's simple, but there's something else going on.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like, looking back on it, I didn't consciously realize I was gay until I was around 11 or so. But I was having little homosexual urges when I would see sexy shirtless men, probably 8 or 9. But the reason that I end up sounding really gay, like I have this like theatrically gay accent, like an American Milo Yiannopoulos or whatever. The reason why is because I had a gay guy that lived in my house from when I was 10 to 12, and I looked up to him, and that's why I think I sound so incredibly gay. Him and his friends who would come over sometimes, and so yeah, there are reasons, like cultural reasons, why gay guys act the way that they do and stuff.
Okay. If I remember correctly, in some video you said that your mother said when you come out as gay, not if you come out as gay at some point.
Yeah. I always like to say I didn't come out, I surrendered.
Okay.
Okay.
And my mom had a P flag sticker. There's a North American organization called Parents and Families of Lesbians and Gays. She had a P flag bumper sticker on her fucking car within like a week.
Oh gosh, I'm sure that
like she had it saved.
Oh man, that's
yeah. There's something I want to say about sex that again. I understand, first of all, this is something I learned during my research, quote unquote. I understand why sex ed is by now necessary in like 4th grade, because people get sexually mature younger and younger. I realized that, and I realized that sex ed should probably be done before that happens, because you don't want to get pregnant 10-year-olds. I also realized I'm not in favor of sex ed. Just I mean, in an optimal world, your parents would do sex ed, but that's not reality. And I realized that I'm not against teaching intersectionality, intersex, or and gay, lesbian, and all that stuff. I'm not against teaching that. What I have a problem with is acting like this is like being straight and all and cis and all these other things are just let's call it hierarchy. Like, there is no hierarchy. There is just this. These are just equal things that you can choose from, basically, which it isn't. Normal, as in what the word normal means, according to the norm, basically what the majority does. According to this, being any one of those things except for straight and cis is not normal, quote unquote. So I think that this stuff should be taught. I think that this it should be taught that this is nothing evil or something. It's not normal. It's natural. It's a thing that occurs naturally. No one creates this, except for, of course, this Transtrender bullshit and stuff. But yeah,
Well,
I have a problem with my.
Sorry.
Yeah, I have a problem when when the government tells my kids that that being masculine or being feminine is something they imagine. If schools start teaching that basically that gender is a social construct, this is gonna fuck up your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they're 10 years old. They have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I also believe, I mean, you just said you were 11. I think that if you really, I mean, I'm bisexual. I knew that I was into dicks before I knew that I was into pussies. And I live in the deep German South, which is comparable to Texas, basically. So this wasn't something that I learned. I didn't have internet back then in the 90s. This wasn't really big in movies, at least not in the movies I watched. I just knew this. I just knew that this was what was going on. So I think that I imagine that if you have gender dysphoria, if you have any one of these things, it can occur, really have them. I think you know this very early on in your life, which is also why this stuff should be taught. Because if you only teach in they're men and they're women and this is how babies are made and that's it, which is, by the way, the sex that I got, and then you don't really it's like they teach stuff about everyone else but you, which makes you feel excluded, etc., etc. This is basically my stance on sex ed.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that these things should be mentioned, but it's like if you are a minority, you should know you're a minority. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Nobody should try to trick you into thinking that you're not a minority. That's sort of like what microaggression culture is built around, is this notion of like, let's try to con all of the minorities into like never having to realize they're a minority. It's like, well, why? Like, you are a minority. Like, you should get used to it. And that's just the fact of life. You know, like they had the I have a video called Transtrenders and Bisexuals, about how in the 90s, when it was actually trendy in media to be gay, there was all sorts of people who said that they were bi, but what that really meant is that they made out with a dude or made out with a girl a few times at parties. And like those people trying to like be cool and everything, it ended up actually being a pain in the ass for me to realize that they weren't at all. And it was not happy. You know, maybe for like a few parties, it was nice to feel like everybody else was sort of like this too. But then in long term, it was like, wait, no, at the end of the day, I'm the only one that's actually gay. And out of most of these people. And it's the same type of thing. It's like, don't lie to the kids.
Yeah. This is an article that I came across because do you remember this Salon, which I think is not a really trustworthy news source, but whatever, published a lot of shit defending pedophiles. And when that stuff with Milo Yiannopoulos happened, they deleted all of that shit and acted like Milo Yiannopoulos was basically a monster.
Yeah, and Milo was basically making a joke about his own victimhood, wasn't he? Pretty much, like he was opening up about. Yeah,
Milo was
there's a difference in the gay community, and a lot of guys feel that way. A lot of guys feel that way, and like I think that the argument is, and so like I never did this. I was not one of these guys that was 14 having sex with guys in their mid-20s or whatever. I'm not gonna say it would have been impossible for me to have done that, but the thing is that when I was 14, I was very, very chubby, and then when I was 15, over the summer after freshman year, I lost like 80 pounds. And I was very thin, and I was also actually quite cute, and I had never been cute before. And so all of a sudden, a lot of people had crushes on me, but I had no concept of what it was like for people to have crushes on me. And I was actually really, really self-conscious and nervous. So like, actually, there were a few times when I got hit on by people who were older than 18 because I seemed older. And I would just get really terrified. I'd freeze up. So it would have never actually happened for me. But the notion is that if you're gay, it's hard to experiment and when you're young. And so you have to seek out relationships with older people to have sex at all. And so it's due to some sort of like, I don't know, desperation of solitude and finding older gay companionship or blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of guys who have said that throughout the years. Personally, I think, I would never endorse breaking the law, mainly. You know, I would never like, and in the same way, like the age of consent is different in multiple different countries. Like, so it's perfectly legal in Germany, I believe. Like if the parents are okay with it, it's okay to have sex with like a 14-year-old girl and blah 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 blah. Like
that actually doesn't depend on the parents. If the legal age in Germany is 14, period.
Oh, period.
Except for if you, there's 14, 16, and 18. 14 is if you have a normal functioning brain and you are somewhat mature. Yeah, if you can't prove that you forced this 14-year-old or that you subjected this 14-year-old to undue influence, then this is then it's not illegal. And 16 is the age limit for if you are in a relationship type where you have power over the other person. For example, a teacher. If you have a teacher, it's 16, I think. And everything, but 14 is basically, that's it.
Well, what I would say is about my take is simply that, like, I wouldn't really want to say that people should treat it as some sort of different thing with gay people and straight people. I can see why gay guys would, but that does become, you know, like a weird slippery slope type thing. And I think that it's like, well, if there are going to be laws, let's just be consistent.
Yeah, they changed that in the 90s in Germany. Up until the 90s, this only applied to non-same-sex relationships. For same-sex relationships, up until the 90s, legal age was 18. But now it's equal.
Yeah, but for me, it was never an issue. You know, like I only really was. I mean, I fooled around with my friend when I was like 12 or 13 or something, but he was literally my exact same age. And then I started having sex when I was like 17, but only like once or twice. And then every time passed, it was when I was 18 and older. And there was never any sort of significant. I certainly was never dating guys younger than me. I was dating guys that were older than me a lot of the time. But you know, when I was perfectly legal, it's not something I've really thought about a whole bunch. And I mean, I've had to talk about it a lot because ever since the Milo controversy, a lot of people have asked me about it, and it's always been like, well, I was always into older guys, and I pretty much only really had sex starting when I was 18, so I can't really help you. If you want some dirt, I don't got it. You know?
Yeah. The age of consent thing is for me, as someone who lives in a country where age of consent is 14 and basically no one gives a shit. The when I see this in an American movie, for example, when some dad beats up a guy because he fucked his daughter who is 18 in 2 weeks because he's a pedophile, this is weird to me. This is really extreme, especially considering that even in America there are states where the age of consent is 16.
I mean, if my daughter stuck around and it depends on the guy. I don't know. I can't be totally mad at that dad.
Yeah, I sort of understand that. Yeah, but at the same time, first of all, if you apparently, I have this like in back of my mind, females peak at 15, I think. 15 is where females look have the best looks because evolution. A 17-year-old does not look like a child and is not a child by any reasonable standard, which a pedophile is someone who is attracted to prepubescent kids, I think. That is very, very different.
Yeah, and again, mostly found within the halls of power, and also anywhere where you need like a nice strong system of blackmail. It's like you're gonna find it. It's a crazy thing, but it's true.
Yeah, the all the Hollywood stuff that's coming out over the last 2 years is just blowing my mind. Hollywood is such a cesspool of human filth.
It really is.
And these are the people who tell us how to live our lives and tell us how moral they are and how much better than everyone else they are. It's mind blowing, really. Like and I actually think that they are so unself-aware that they actually think that they have the moral high ground.
They do. I mean, it's like it's the same mental sickness as like communists. It's like I have good intentions, so it's okay if I like commit genocide and starve
the ends
billions
justify
of people.
the means.
Yeah, it's a sick thing, and it goes hand in hand with the people who are super into equality of outcome over equality of opportunity. I mean, it's a whole I know better than you, and I need to be the authoritarian.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, basically, this is something that I really, really hate about Western society, by the way, that we which goes into religion. Nature does not tolerate a vacuum. And religion is a thing that exists. If you take that away, something needs to fill this vacuum. And what we did in Western culture, basically, is we made musicians and movie stars and politicians into our new gods, and we made ideologies like libertarianism and communism and what have you into our new religions.
Well, that's a concept that goes back to the ancient Greeks. They talked about, controlling the music and art and all these things to kind of make people into who they wanted them to be, like in society.
Yeah, and the almost deification of these people just because they are on TV is something that I first of all don't understand, and that we really, really, really need to stop. I think we are currently in the process of learning that these are just fucking idiots, and just because they are everywhere all the time, basically on every TV screen, etc. And they seem like they know what they're talking about because that's what they learned, that's what their job is. That at the end of the day, they are just some dumb idiots. Usually there are a handful of, and even I couldn't name one now, a handful of these Hollywood types that you can really have a conversation with, that really have their own opinions that they stand by. But so, for the most part,
Oh, sorry.
Basically.
You said something that reminded me of something. So I have this tendency to just like blatantly interrupt,
all good,
and then realize that I shouldn't. And I'm like, oh wait,
but you're the guest, so go ahead.
Well, imagine how much I talk on my own streams. I feel like no obligation to be polite. No. So there's this. I had this little theory about. I don't know if you guys have heard people say this. Like, I don't know if this is so true if you're not in like big cities or what. Like, I just don't know. But if you're in somewhere like New York or San Francisco, it's common practice that if you talk to someone in their 20s or early 30s, they'll all say, oh yeah, everybody lies on their resume. Everybody lies on their resume. Everybody lies on their resume. Have you heard this?
No.
Okay. Well,
I have. Yeah, I've heard that for sure.
yeah. Okay. My theory, and this is sort of tangentially related to people being dishonest in Hollywood. I have a feeling that because they're it's like these entry level positions that are asking for like 3 years of experience and like shit like that.
Okay, yeah,
It's so common that I think that it's likely that some of these companies want you to be lying. They know that you're going to be lying. Like, it's like there's no way that a 22-year-old has 3 years of experience to be some sort of customer service, like whatever the position is. That doesn't actually make any sense. What they want is a liar, because once they have a liar, then they have someone who's immoral, who's going to do crappy things for the company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of does, actually. Kind of does.
That's just a little tangent theory.
No. Yeah. What did you want to say, Sean?
I'm sorry, I muted myself. I was saying, yeah, it's like a litmus test to see if you're gonna do something bad when they ask you. Like if you lied to get the job, you're way more likely to like lie or cheat when they ask you to lie or cheat in the service of their business.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's not crazy.
Yeah. No, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, but lying on your resume that's new to me. Germans don't do that.
Yeah, maybe they don't do that over there.
This is while I was looking for the Salon articles that they deleted, I found this, which I gotta go a little bit off topic, but as an atheist, I fucking loathe Richard Dawkins. I hate this man. This guy is the worst thing that happened to atheism, I don't know, since I was born, probably. Yeah, he apparently doesn't really have that much problem with touching kids. Pulled me on his knee and put his hand inside my shorts, and that's to condemn this mild touching up as sexual abuse today would somehow be unfair. Fuck you. If a Catholic priest would have done this, he wouldn't shut up about it.
Yeah, well, I don't understand.
He is from the UK. Fucking children is basically their national sport.
But I was gonna say, what is up with Salon? Like, Salon is so obsessed with this.
Yeah, that's why I said before, the Salon is not really a news source that you can trust, but I don't think that this is wrong. By the way, Richard Dawkins says a lot of dumb shit.
Yeah, I know. Salon is a rag for sure, but I mean, they've definitely produced some funny content. That is for sure.
My least favorite is Vox. I think Vox is the worst.
Vox. They've got all their videos with their their upper middle class college students with their upspeak and vocal fry, just condescending you in their video. I think I saw one Vox video about how using the term weed is like it's racist or something like that.
Oh my god!
Or like, yeah,
how did you get there?
I have no idea.
Why?
Because they're like, it was like, or no, I think they said, or was it marijuana? They said marijuana was racist or whatever, because they're like, oh, it was the term coined by, reefer madness and all that. I don't know, but Vox, it's just like they never cease to amaze me.
Yeah, no, the guy, the founder, Ezra Klein is the scuzziest person in all of new media. Like, he would be like, if you've ever seen like Hackers, have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have that on DVD actually.
Yeah, you know how there's like the corporate hacker who's like a piece of shit, like that.
Yeah.
Like Ezra Klein would be that guy or something, because he's not completely unintelligent, like he knows what he's doing in terms of new media, but everything he says is a fucking propagandistic lie. He's a fucking piece of shit. Like, he's the type of guy that like could successfully swindle an elderly woman out of her retirement money, like saying that she was gonna win some sweepstakes or something.
And he'd sleep like a baby.
He's the Plague. That's his name in the movie. his hacker handle.
Oh, the
Plague.
the plague. That's Ezra Klein.
That's a '90s flick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Red Letter Media did a review with my colleague Kalkin.
That's right.
About a month ago. Yeah, Hackers is the most 90s movie that was ever made. If the 90s were a movie, it would be Hackers.
Yeah.
I love Red Letter Media.
Yeah, I love it too.
Do you know what's a really, really similar movie in terms of the plot is Ready Player One?
I hate that movie.
When did that come out? I don't think I've
I
seen
didn't
that.
see it. That's recent.
Last year, 2018.
Yeah,
Okay.
year old.
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
It's very cheesy. It's very like my mom and my mom's friend both liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I like most Hollywood movies if I go at them with a really uncynical eye and I don't expect much. But like then I go watch the Red Letter Media review and I'm like, oh wow,
And then
I like
reality-
that.
and then
I feel like
reality
I feel
sets
like
in.
a fucking pleb. Like I liked that
Yeah.
movie. They're like, but then after I watched the review, I'm like, well, maybe it was a piece of shit movie. I don't know. Maybe those guys have too much influence over me.
I majored in script writing. Like I'm way better as a actual like dramatic fiction writer than I am as a personal video monologuer. Like people are like, oh, you just make great videos. I'm like, well, thanks. That's nice and everything. But like, I'm ultimately, I should not be sitting around talking into a microphone. That's not where I thrive. And so when I go see like a Hollywood movie, I just totally expect everything to be awful because you get to a certain point of having seen so many plays and having written so many things, and then seeing your friends rewrite things throughout the semester, and like Hollywood movies. Then you can enjoy them again in this weird kind of way. So like I can enjoy certain things like Ready Player One, and it feels like I'm a 9-year-old kid, like you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but then you can also enjoy the really actually good movies like Infinity War, which is like just a great movie. Like I would say Infinity War is the closest thing that we're gonna have to this generation's Star Wars, really. Would you guys agree?
I have not seen any of the Avengers movies, so I gotta take a step back on that one.
Oh,
I'm kind of lame. I'm a Batman guy.
I watched it once last year, and I found it quite funny, and I found it to be the best Marvel movie up to now. And then a few months later, I tried to watch it again, and I had to turn it off 40 minutes because I was so fucking bored. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's just that I'm so fatigued of this CGI bullshit. It's all the same basically. Oh, something blows up. There's a green screen. Ugh.
I would like if they were to do such a thing, if they were to do a live stage show of Infinity War, where they basically took out all of the action, or like did it like just really cheesy. I don't know, it'd be like West Side Story or some fucking
stage
shit.
action. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, because the lines and the drama, like the scene of Gamora and Thanos alone on the ship, and she's talking to him about why he wants to destroy half the universe, and like it's like the dialogue is so good. I thought.
Yeah, Thanos is definitely the coolest and most believable.
Wait, so was he the most relatable character? Y'all related with Thanos? Isn't he supposed to be the bad guy?
Well,
Thanos has an actual motive.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, he there's some really good video. There's a really good video called Thanos Deserves to Win. That might be a bit of a spoiler already. I mean, everybody kind of knows what happens.
Oh
Right.
yeah, I know what happens. Yeah, sure,
yeah. So the thing is, like, Thanos he actually legitimately believes he is doing a good thing, and his actions throughout the movie prove it. Like he doesn't do anything unnecessarily cruel, and everything he does is very calculated, and it's there's some other good things in his favor that make it so much more of a dramatic story. I'm of the school of thought that there shouldn't that drama is much more interesting if you can relate to every single character. Like when there's just complete good versus evil, and somebody's just irrationally evil for no apparent reason, I find that boring. And Thanos does a good job of being complicated, having a lot of dimensions.
That's cool. I'll have to actually see it. I shy away from superhero movies. I experienced the fatigue that Tommy was talking about, but like I experienced that like 4 years ago after like Iron Man. I was like, okay, that was a good movie. Like I'm done with superhero movies now.
Yeah,
but, I would definitely see it out of theaters. I think I'm also way cynical when I go and see a movie because I'm just pissed off by how much it costs.
I would say that the movies that you should see before Infinity War, because theoretically they want you to have seen like 15 Marvel movies before seeing it. But the ones that are really important that you should see would be Thor Ragnarok, probably the Guardians of the Galaxies, both of them. Then Spider-Man Homecoming.
Black Panther, you almost have to see Black Panther.
Yeah, it's worth seeing. So that you understand Wakanda pretty well. There's unfortunately the thing that they didn't do a good job of explaining in any of the movies, which is actually really important in Infinity War, is the romance between Vision and the Scarlet Witch, which is actually really complicated in the comics. It's like some weird thing where when Vision gets created, he's this this entity that's sort of a cyborg, but he has this stone in his head that's like a brain, but nobody quite understands it. And as soon as he gets created, the Scarlet Witch's powers become like out of control powerful, and she doesn't know how to control them very well. But they fall in love with each other, and somehow their powers are intertwined with each other. And they explain it in the comics, I guess, a lot better. But I've never actually read the comics, so I don't exactly understand how it works. But it's very important in Infinity War, and they just never explain it, apparently. So
that's hilarious. They just leave it out. They just like,
yeah, it's like something is really important between the two of them, but it's like I don't quite get it, but okay, I'll just go with it.
That does kind of sound a little bit like Marvel, but I guess they're trying to do something really, really big. Something like that's gonna slip through. I mean, they have been making these movies for like a very long time. All in anticipation for this series, correct? I mean, the Avengers series. It's like very ambitious movie making.
Yeah, it's also very formulaic, I think is the word.
Yes.
They also never really explain these stones properly. Like, I mean, the time stone is relatively obvious what it does. I think space stone is relatively obvious what it does, but half of these stones just do things. You can do things when you have them. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the space one and the power one are kind of confusing because it's like the power one, you can just like fuck shit up with it. The space one, like, I guess you can teleport people places, but like so the space one was in Captain America, and they were doing all sorts of shit with it. I was like, I don't know what they were doing with it. But then like, okay, yeah, you have no idea what the Mind Stone does because that's the last one he gets. And the Soul Stone, it's like he knows when people are dead or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like an RLM. It sounds like an RLM episode. I love it. Oh my god. Well, I will have to actually put some time in and watch some Marvel movies.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I have this one topic, basically the German Green Party and their links to pedophiles. I have this, and then I would like to go over motives that I see.
Okay.
But the reason why I think that the reason why pedophiles tend to go to the left-wing parties, in my opinion, is the left has this, or left-wing parties have this, we need to be tolerant of everyone, and we need to be inclusive, and we can't discriminate against anyone, which makes the very essence of what these parties are a magnet for crazy people, basically. Does this make sense?
For sure.
So, yeah, if you would go to the, let's see, to the AfD or to the Republicans and say, hey, you know what we should legalize fucking kids, they would shut that shit down so fast.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah, but on if you go to the spectrum, yeah, it's just society that is evil and that doesn't understand these people, and we need to we can't discriminate, and they are a minority and minorities are always right, etc., etc. Back when the left party came into existence, that was about 10 years ago. The left party is a successor party of the a successor party of the SED, which was the one party that existed in East Germany, in the German Democratic Republic. That's basically a communist party. Yeah, apparently some guy who was convicted of child pornography got into the party, and in all fairness to the left party, as soon as they found out who this guy was, they kicked him out of the party immediately.
But you're saying more like just their ideology draws them, not necessarily that they're intentionally sheltering them, but it's just like the fact that they use this sort of inclusive language.
Well, intersectionality for sure.
Yeah, this is. I mean, is intersectionality, is pedophilia and the acceptance of pedophilia really a part of intersectionality? Does it go this far?
No,
If
it doesn't go that
now,
far.
it will in the future.
No, and yeah, and that's the thing, is because there is this trend even on Twitter where you have, you know, certain people like Owen Benjamin got banned because he said it's child abuse to put, you know, a child on hormone blockers, and yet you've got some of these people.
It is.
You've got I know it is child abuse, right? And I agree. And then on Twitter, you have these people that are saying that they're like non-offending pedophiles or whatever, and they're trying
MAPs or whatever,
Yeah,
minor attracted persons.
Right, and these people, you know, people report them all the time, and they don't get kicked off. And so I don't think there's this grand scheme. I think that individuals that are sick like that just kind of try to use and exploit movements. So when Tommy made the point of like what the ideology of the Green Party being like a magnet for, you know, all types of people, you know, you're gonna have this pop up, and I don't know why it's so difficult for the left to just like shut that down though.
Yeah, because they're a minority. Pedophiles are a minority, and you can't discriminate against the minority.
That's like expressly Marxist too.
Well, and that's the thing though about the victimhood mentality, is it's not good. It just encourages disease in a way.
Don't you think that there's also the element of like, if the most egregiously shunned of society, if you can convince those people that you're going to stick up for them, then those people will be incredibly loyal?
Yeah, that's another point that I was going to get to, which is same as with the illegal immigration. It's future voters. Yeah, the another point is maybe the postmodern shit, which is and what do the Marxists call it? Like objectivism? Like there is no materialism. I think there is no such thing as
like a soul.
Or
yeah, materialist.
Everything is just matter. Okay, if everything is just matter, then and nothing matters, and everything is right, and there's no such thing as right or wrong. Yeah, why would you have a problem with
exactly right
this kind of stuff? Yeah, the Green Party. The Green Party was formed in Germany either end late 70s, early 80s. And as it turns out, the Green Party is basically the Catholic Church of politics. Yeah, possibly hundreds of victims in the 80s. They had payouts, and all this shit just basically came to light in 2013 when there was an election, and one journalist basically
Huh.
dug a little bit into that's where it says minority dogma.
That's interesting.
Being against pedophiles is minority dogma. They
Well,
were.
You could finish. Sorry.
There was a there was this one guy in the Green Party who, oh man, now I gotta go deep. There's this thing called the 86 movement, which is 1986 started it. The 86 movement spawned, among other things, the Red Army fraction. The Red Army fraction was, of course, a left-wing terrorist group that killed about, I think, 40 people over the course of the next 30 years. They are pretty famous, actually. Andreas Baader, Ulrike Meinhof, etc. Baader, you know, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Same name. Probably a coincidence, but whatever. And there was one guy, a member of the Green Party, that guy, who wrote his autobiography 40 years ago, and he wrote about how he basically likes to touch kids. What did he write? Wait. You know, a child's sexuality is a fantastic thing. You have to be honest and sincere. With the very young kids, it isn't the same as it is with the 4 to 6 year olds. When a little 5-year-old girl starts undressing, it's great because it's a game. It's an incredible erotic game.
Oh, God.
Wow.
That guy wrote this in 1975. That guy is a member of the Green Party to this day. Was a member of the European Parliament for 2 different Green parties in 2 different countries, Germany and France. That guy won prizes from the European Union after this shit came out. What the fuck is wrong with these people? And why do we need a European Union? Get the fuck away with this crap.
You know, so
did you want to ask? Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion, and this is pretty obvious, that a number of the pedophile type accounts on Twitter, and you know, there's like apparently like whole little channels that are like trying to like, you know, add the P into the LGBT, you know, or whatever. And the most of it is sock puppets. Like, it's pretty clearly like not actual real people. But and the thing is, I as somebody who's been the target of like sock puppet smear campaigns 2 different times, I was the TERFs targeted me, and it was actually very strange. It was just because they had their YouTube champion was this crazy bitch named Magdalene Burns, who has a brain tumor and just like is not right in the head, and she misrepresented me in a video, and I was annoyed, and then somehow it escalated into like actual drama, and I was able to like point out very clearly that she was a liar. And the TERFs are pretty organized and funded, and so they sent a bunch of sock puppets after me, and like honestly it was pretty obviously probably only coming from 3 or 5 people, but they were dedicated, and it seemed like there was money behind it. And the same thing was going on last year around this time with the blood sports people. There was so many sock puppets and so much relentless around the clock, like trying to entrap you into conversations, like inviting you into Discord chats and like hoping that you would go, and like obviously they'd be recording you, and you know, like all this stuff, that it seemed very clear that there was some sort of political motive behind these 2 different endeavors. That's what it really struck me as. And I'm not going to go into like what I think maybe the things were, but I think that looking at this pedophilia stuff, like most of it seems like this is mostly sock puppet stuff. Like on the presence is on the internet is sock puppets, and I wonder if it has to do with some major players in politics and maybe in entertainment and things like that, maybe in banking. Maybe they're worried that there's going to be some whistleblowing, and so they're trying to
Crap. Sorry. Something happened on my phone.
So maybe they're trying to normalize pedophilia so that if the whistle gets blown on them, people will be a little bit more sympathetic.
Oh, you mean that? Yeah, okay.
No, that's good insight. I think it's very possible. I think I'm not so sure how genuine the like sudden MAP whatever minor attracted person Twitter accounts are, but if they aren't genuine, then you are probably correct in that assumption as far as it could be high level pedophiles who are worried about what's coming as far as themselves being exposed.
Yeah.
It could also be maybe law enforcement trying to draw people in. Who knows? You know, like you create a little community, it's totally fake, a bunch of FBI agents, and you get some idiot who's like, oh yeah, I also love kids. Oh, I fuck my cousin. I'm a dumbass. It's like, all right, we'll go arrest him. You know what I mean? Like, show up at his door.
There's multiple motives for trying to create a fake pedophile presence. I just know that this has to be fake because they were fucking. Do you guys know the channel Miss Misa?
No,
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, well, she about a year and a half ago made a video about some sort of pedophile channel or something, and she's a friend of mine, and they were just on her, like they were just stalking the crap out of her for days and days and days. And she was like, oh my god, I can't believe there's all these pedophiles. And I was like, Misa, these aren't real people. And she was like, they aren't. And I was like, no, take a look, it's actually pretty obvious. And then she was like, oh wait, you're right, these have to be only coming from a few users. Wait. And then she actually isolated the person who she thinks that it actually was behind. And so yeah, it's it is a very strange thing going on. But hey guys, I gotta go to the bathroom pretty bad.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah, me too, actually.
All right.
So we're reaching the 2-hour mark. I'm not sure how long you guys go normally.
Yeah, I have like 1 or 2 things, like 5 to 10 minutes left.
Okay. And then we can wrap it up after that, then, or whatever you guys want to do.
So yeah, do you want to finish right now, or do you want to?
Well, no. You guys, I'll put on some music. You guys go do what you got to do.
Yeah, okay.
And then.
Okay. Then.
All right.
2 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'll just have just random music playing.
Yeah, well, also, as far as local news, not local news, but like shit that's randomly going on, Lisa Page, her closed door testimony was leaked, and there was a big article written about it, and it seems to really heavily implicate a lot of the same players. I mean, the criminality involved with the late Obama era people and the spying that took place and the setup that took place, it's all going to come out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It has to.
Yeah, there is like, like Obama, he was this beacon, basically, like, all right, our work has begun. And so they started scrapping, like, they kind of like took a shit on legalities and things like that. And I don't know, it really was looking kind of like a takeover. And I remember it was like 2011. I remember hearing the spooky story in the news, like Obama met with the heads of Google and, Mark Zuckerberg, all these people. And right then I knew, right then and there, I was like, it has to do something, it has to do with like censorship and spying or something like that. But basically I think Obama and Bush to some extent, their legacy was engineering, basically systems of surveillance on our communication networks,
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, Maxine Waters even says it. I forget exactly what she says in the clip, but on camera, she's like bragging about Obama has set up this massive, intel database and all this shit. I'll have to look it up for the next show, but
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I just want equal justice under the law. I don't want to sound too much like Sean Hannity, but
Right.
god
I hear
damn
you.
it.
So, is everybody back yet?
I'm back.
All right, Tommy's back. Prince will be back soon. All right, no more music. No.
I've noticed that lo-fi is everywhere now.
Lo-fi is everywhere. It's like, I don't know, it's growing.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, dude. I can't turn my head. Everybody's got it in their videos. It's like, and it's cool too because I fucking love it. I love that shit, dude. Lo-fi is my jam.
Well, you know, we should
Everybody-
look up DJ Boring. There's a few other DJs that they became really big on YouTube. You know, they just put their music out there and their stuff is blowing up. And especially in the house music I listen to on YouTube, a lot of it's really interesting. It's like a mix of lo-fi and vaporwave. But it's like a really interesting time because, you know, think about 10 years ago, you couldn't just make digital tracks and just upload them on YouTube like in a couple minutes, you know?
It's gotten a lot faster.
Yeah,
it's gotten so much faster.
There's quite an interesting music scene going on YouTube.
Love it.
Yeah, I love just doing deep dives, like taking some edibles, doing a deep dive on just music on YouTube.
It's definitely a good spot for it. I mean, it's like video sharing and video hosting is the communication of the future, and then also like streaming is like the news of the future. Like,
yeah, exactly.
In 20 years, everybody's gonna get their news from live streams.
Yeah,
and it's cool because it's interactive. Like those live streams the broadcasts are no longer just about the person broadcasting and their information. It's also about the community and what they have to say. And like, there's a couple of people out there doing really cool, unique, interactive streams, like Lionel, and H.A. Goodman and a couple of other people, where, you know, it's kind of just like a basic free form stream where they open up, they have something they're going to talk about, but it's almost like they're having a dialogue with the people who are watching the show. And I really see that as something that is going to be sort of the next iteration of getting your news, because it only makes sense. I mean, it's such a natural way to do it.
Yeah, and you know, I just like to have dialogues, like free flowing conversations. I know, like, when I was thinking about putting together a podcast, I wanted something to be really tight knit and really smoothed over and like professional looking, but I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm like, hey, if the dialogue's good, like I kind of just like a natural atmosphere. We've had so much, because like you watch like the news now, like traditional news, it's just ridiculous. It's like people don't even talk like that, you know?
No, and the people who are really succeeding at even like the old style of media are like emulating new media. They emulate alternative media. You know what I mean? Like, that's why they're succeeding, is because they're starting to catch on to the new wave of things. It's too little too late, but
yeah,
they're trying.
Well, interesting times for sure. I mean, could you imagine being somebody, say you're like living in the 1940s during World War II? All you had was radio. Imagine like going into a time machine and seeing that, oh my gosh, like regular people are commentating on news and they're broadcasting it. People would be blown away by that.
Yeah, to the whole world live.
Yeah, the whole world live
for free.
For free.
Yeah. And you can talk to them.
Yeah,
while they do it.
I'm back, by the way.
Okay.
Hey,
okay.
Cool. All right, Tommy, did you want to jump into your last little bit there?
Yeah, let's do this. These last few things. This is a quote from. They had the in the 80s, they had in the Green Party the what is called basically the work group gays, pederasts, and transsexuals. Transsexuals. Yeah, this was a thing that existed, and no one cared. And he said, in terms of national politics, the Greens were the only hope for pedophiles. they were the only party that put their necks on the line for sexual minorities in the long term. This is again what I said before. Fucking kids is just the same as any other kind of
sexual
sexuality.
minority.
Yeah,
What?
it's a sexual minority.
What the fuck is that's dangerous language.
And combine this with the payouts for actually kids who got molested, and the other thing that I read from the other guy who was in the European Parliament, and then the then a few years ago co-chairman comes out and says protecting children from sexual abuse was and remains a central concern. It is unacceptable that some are now trying to reinterpret the positions of individual groups in the past as a supposedly lax position of the Greens towards the sexual abuse of children. Are you fucking kidding me? This is really some Catholic Church bullshit. This is the same level.
Jesus Christ, Germany.
Yeah, and a co-founder of the Green Party gave an interview some time back, and he said basically that the guy who talked about how 5-year-old girls undressing is sexy, he basically justified this with, where is it? Yeah, the fact that Greek philosophers had boy toys. That's why this is okay.
Wow. But it's like I thought the basis of, I mean, the Greeks, that's like the basis of Western society. I mean, they should be the most evil of them all, right? You're really thinking from
right.
another leftist
Oh man,
perspective.
I didn't even think about this.
I mean,
yeah, you're right.
It's such a bullshit argument.
They're like, just pedophiles. They're just all it is. They're just fucking pedophiles.
But weren't the Greeks? Didn't the Greeks not have relationships with like prepubescent boys? It was just young, like
yeah. I don't know if it was young or anything like that, because there's some mixed stories about that. I don't even know, but you might be right.
I never really took the Greek underage relationships 101 class.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
The Learning Annex only does that one on Wednesday nights.
But if I remember correctly, I mean, I think there was like some weird phase like that with the Greeks, and then there's a time where they like outlawed it. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the stuff that I read right at the beginning concerning the sex ed stuff, the guidelines from the German government. The stuff that I read was all from one specific state, which is Thüringen, and they have elections next year or this year. And if you look at if you listen to this sex ed shit, you probably understand why the AfD has is in the polls 11 points further than last election, and Angela Merkel's party is basically failing on every level. This is a neck on neck race between Christian Democrats, communists, and the AfD.
Jesus,
very exciting. Yeah,
Germany like does not learn from the past, man. Like, I don't like.
Well, Germany does. Okay, Germany does learn a little bit from the past, which is why this happens. And the left party, the only reason the left party is so high is because this is a former German Democratic Union state where the left party is always high as fuck because they have a lot of former communists. The left party and the AfD is very high in the former GDR states. And I have a perfect example on how the government here uses these kind of issues for some this is Angela Merkel, by the way. She looks very comfortable.
Wow.
Okay. Last year, no, not last year, in 2017. In 2017, Germany legalized gay marriage, which, by the way, is called the marriage for everyone, Ehe für alle, or marriage for everybody, which now reading about all this pedophile shit, I really ask myself, in the future, whom else will they include in this marriage for everyone? But I digress. Yeah, they had this votes in parliament, passed, and everyone was happy. And then most people left, and then they had another vote immediately afterwards about the NetzDG, which is the Netzwerkdurchsuchungsgesetz, which is a law that basically is a German law aimed at combating agitation and fake news in social networks. And it basically says, first of all, they voted on this law with about 60 people in parliament, which is illegal because you have to have at least half present, which would be more than 350. So it is already illegal. It is passed illegally, but no one cares because our Supreme Court is a fucking joke. And if it basically says that social media companies have to delete specific type of content. And as you can see, it's basically content that the government says is not true. So you have the foundation for the Ministry of Truth here, basically, and fines up to 50 million euros. And if you have to pay 50 million euros fines, you're gonna delete everything, no matter what. You will be better safe than sorry. And the funniest thing is, this is how you know that the European Union makes total sense. This confirms the suspicion that the law violates European Union law. Exactly. This is a I think the European Union has a constitution. I'm not entirely sure. The EU would overturn this law if they would. The European courts thing. I don't know how to say it in English. But Brussels does not want to offend Germany. Okay, so you have Germany making laws telling you what's true and what isn't true, and the rest of Europe doesn't do anything because it doesn't want to offend Germany. How does this sound familiar? And they voted about this on these two things on the same day. Gay marriage and this shit. Guess which one of these had a lot of media attention and didn't?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, this is how they use this crap. And I think the quote unquote gay agenda with it's quite simple actually. I really think it's just about there need to be as much minority population as possible because the minorities vote left. That's their thinking. I really think that's it.
Yeah.
What Jordan Peterson says, the destruction of the nuclear family, which goes to what what's his name? Yuri Bezmenov said, the subversion of states, the making everything so weird and confusing that you don't have any idea anymore what is happening, really.
Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy. I was just thinking about this right now because you think about all these orientations, all these things about, gender is a construct, this and that. But we can all without a doubt say that we all exist and we're born because of some sort of a heteronormative relationship, right? And people are saying that there's no, basis in science to all these things. It's all made up, but it's very obvious that it's not. I mean, there are two genders. And to say that doesn't mean that you're excluding people who might have different sexual orientations in the future. But yeah, this whole breaking down of the nuclear family, denying of science, it's just ridiculous. And people should be able to look at these factors and wake up and say, all right, there's something going on. This is really weird. There really shouldn't be this push to influence people in this way so hard,
It is happening, I think. this is why
Yeah.
they are so adamant about censoring the internet left and right, because people are waking up to this bullshit.
Yeah.
You have a literal walk away movement.
Exactly.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump happens.
Donald fucking Trump.
It's just like, and everything, you know, is upside down for the Obama folks, for the far lefties, those who are celebrating, you know, 8 years, the 8 years of the Obama presidency. I don't know.
Tim Pool, one of Tim Pool's new videos is called "Why Are Millennials Ignorant, Childless Socialists?"
I love Tim Pool. I really do.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a rambler. He could be a little more concise, but then his video wouldn't be more than 10 minutes. I think that's yeah. Yeah, Prince, what is your final statement about the gay agenda and the whole pedophile shit?
Well, I mean, I like to think that I have a bit of pride around this notion of you know, I was one of the first to come out in terms of like guys who are still in their political relevance and cultural relevance age. You know, I'm in my late 30s now officially. I came out when I was 14. And I was in, you know, the city of Seattle, and you know, I'm very, very gay. Like, if I had sex with a woman, I would feel like I was raping Tori Amos, and
Tori Amos.
Yeah, she was my favorite music artist in the '90s, and she sang about.
Oh, he made
Which one?
Not really trans.
No, she's a redhead. Red curly hair. She has, look up some of her music. Tori Amos. And yeah, I would feel really, really horrible having sex with a woman. And then I've at the same time as I've always felt like being around gay people was a comfort zone. I also found it very confining and not really a strong representation of who I was. Like I was always more, you know, concerned with actually being good at things and, like, you know, making good theater and music and stuff. Like I was signed up on a record label. I produced all my own music and put out 4 releases, and like that's what actually has defined my life. And, you know, when the politics of my community got so incredibly weird, I have felt like I have been one of the only people that's been grounded, and it's because of my strong background of simultaneously be willing to be a gay dissident, but also be incredibly gay the whole time. And so, you know, like, I can take the questions as they come. I can roll with the punches. But ultimately, I don't really know if where everything's going and where everybody's going to end up. But hey, if people have questions about things, I'm the self-appointed expert. So yeah. That's
yeah, you're the ambassador of the gay community, of the LGBTs and 15 different letters community.
But
yeah, I would say that you're almost never going to meet a gay guy who simultaneously speaks heterosexual language and simultaneously speaks gay language as well as I do. Like, there's most gay guys that you're going to run into who are really into being gay, like, have no ability to talk to straight people, or they're like guys that, you know, have never fit in with the gay community. Well, I've fit in with both, so, you know.
There's something that I just remembered. Do you have you watched a movie where there's like someone who's immortal and he says something like, I have seen empires rise and fall. And I was talking to Samo on Friday. You are in this scene for almost like a quarter century now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this whole like the scene itself changes? Right?
Sure. I do.
How many empires have you seen rise and fall?
I would say the third one is about falling right now. So the first one was the 90s gays with the the HIV and the circuit party club rave scene, blah 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 blah, shirtless, hairless guys, and then there was the last decade hipsters who were into electro and punk rock and that kind of a shit, and then now it's the SJW Transtrenders, and those are about on the way out, and I am patiently waiting for the next thing, which I will hopefully be on the precipice of. I will maybe be on the cutting edge of it until it turns stupid and I have to abandon ship yet again.
Yeah, but I do like your point. I mean, because we know, like you said, you're gay, but you felt like the category is a bit confining, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm pretty libertarian. I don't care what people do, and it's a little bit sad when you think about people focusing on gay identity, black identity. It's like people aren't even being able to show who they are as individuals anymore. And it's like, I'm tired of this stuff. I'm tired of talking about these things over and over. About identity.
Everything is identity.
It's like being in high school, all the little cliques and stuff, But go ahead.
Yeah, I find it simultaneously annoying though. Like, there's guys who are so obsessed with guys who are gay who are so obsessed with rejecting the gay identity that then they become confined with, like, I'm the gay guy who doesn't act gay, and it's like, well, that's confining as well. Like, what, like you can enjoy simultaneously, like violent video games, football, as well as musicals. Like, it's possible. It's not that big of a deal. Just like what you like and fucking get over it,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's just about not allowing labels to define you, which, funny enough, seems to have been the progeneration of the left. Oh, we want to free people. We want to free people to be who they are. And then now it's become something where they want to conform people. Like, it's totally changed. Like the modern left in America has done a total 180, and it's weird how close to authoritarian they are.
Yeah.
One step away from enslaving me. I swear, I'm an enslaved cis white man. Save me, Ronald Reagan's ghost.
But yeah, I'd like to hear more. Like, one day, maybe you can make a video, Prince, more about your DJ days, because I'd like to hear. It'd be interesting to hear your music. So,
yeah, I mean, I do have a song that's online.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's called "Boys on the Dance Floor" on my channel. If you want to listen to it.
All right, yeah, maybe we could. You guys mind if I pull it up real quick, or? You know what? We'll do. We'll put a link of it in the description. We'll do that later. All right, so people can listen to it.
Yeah, I still need.
Continue.
These stuff you want me to put in the description. Your Twitter, Facebook.
Just
YouTube channels, etc.
Just Prince of Queens on YouTube. Cool. Really, whatever, man. I mean, I it's not a huge concern of mine. It's pretty easy to find me on the platforms.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I had a lot of fun hanging out with you, Prince. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a really good night, and in the future, if you ever want to come back, let us know. We're happy to have you. If you have anything specific you want to talk about, we're open to it. And it was really nice to meet you. Your content's great. We're really happy to have you on, and really happy to have a conversation with you.
Thanks a bunch. That's really nice of you to say, and thank you very much for having me.
For sure, man. For sure.
So has everybody said everything they needed to say, and we good? Tommy, was there something else you were going to say, or no?
No.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Sounds good.
You wanna, Prince? Do you wanna advertise something?
I can't say that I really have.
All right.
I have some exciting project that is like sort of secret, but look for a slight side project on my channel. You'll probably know what it is when you see it.
Okay.
But I'm keeping it secret until it debuts. So.
All right.
Awesome.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Wait. I do have one thing. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Check out my side channel is being kicked. I have a side channel called the Gaytriarchy, which I had to get rid of some of the people that were doing it on. Long story short, I picked a bad co-host, and he ushered in some other people that shouldn't have ever been there, and but he's gone, and I have a new co-host, and we took a break, but it's starting back up on February 2nd, and our guest is going to be Karen Strawn of the Honey Badgers, and you know, the queen of YouTube MRAs is going to be there talking to some gay guys, so yeah, it'll be gay MRAs and gay and fag hag or something hour. So yeah, be sure to check that out. I don't think she's ever sat around talking to 3 gay guys before, so
that'll be fun.
All right, well, it's been a good time, guys. We're gonna get going, but we'll see you next time. All right, take care. Bye
guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.